Welcome to this conversation. I'm your host, Teresa Keller. We are beginning a series on free speech and the free press, and we're kicking it off with my guest, David Huff. David Huff is a Saltville resident. He has a YouTube site called The Hilltop News, and we're talking to him because he basically got arrested and was basically told he was not a reporter and not a member of the press. So that's how we're kicking things off in this series. David, you'd have agreed to be my guest and to talk about this for my radio show. I appreciate it. Welcome to this conversation.
Well, thank you.
Let's go back to July the 9th. It's a Saltville Town Council meeting. You show up and tell us what happened.
I show up and the Salva Progress was there, the news messenger, and they were sitting at the press table. And I had all my camera equipment and set up on the press table. Mayor Todd Young and the chief of police conspired in the hallway to have me arrested because they didn't want me at the press table or recording. Before the meeting got started, I went ahead and pushed record because something just didn't feel right. When the mayor nodded to the police chief, he came over and told me I was not a reporter, that if I was a reporter, everybody is a reporter. And which I told him they are a reporter if they distribute news under free press.
And
But
so they
the
told you that you could not sit at that table, that you were not press, and then you insisted, and they tried to get you to leave the room or move to the back of the room.
lead to the back of the room. There's no government agency or anybody that hands out a press pass.
Let's just take a break right now and listen to your recording from that event. This is an edited piece. Here we go from the Saltville Town Council meeting.
I'm press. I'm press.
You're not a member of legitimate press.
How do you get a badge for a press? Who do you get it from?
You're not employed by them.
You got to be employed by them.
Yeah, I've got more subscribers than you. I've got a press pass right here.
That offends me.
Look, look. I'm going to video this thing for my news channel, and I'm press. The First Amendment gives me the right
If that's the case, everybody here is in First Amendment.
They can,
About the
if they
press.
want a video, they can.
Video, we're gonna video it back there.
I'm videoing with the press. That's where they're at. If I move, they should move.
They're the
Right here's it says press.
standing right now, fixing to jail.
For what?
Disorderly conduct. I'm asking you.
What am I doing?
Listen,
What am I doing?
you're sitting somewhere you're not designated to sit.
I've got my badge. The First Amendment, you swore an oath
Where'd you
to.
get that badge?
I made it.
Well, I'm telling you right now, you're fixing to go to jail for
Tell,
disorderly conduct.
ask the attorney.
You can move back there right now.
Ask the attorney right there.
You're not press. Get back in the regular galley with everybody else.
I was just wanting to
Let's
get
go. We're gonna
advice
walk
from
you out
them.
nice. Let's go. You're going to jail for disorderly conduct. Let's go.
For what?
Disorderly conduct. Get up and stay. Give you enough opportunity, enough chance.
Alrighty.
We held the meeting long enough. I tried to get you moved back multiple times. Let's go.
Let's go.
We don't recognize that pass. He's refusing to listen to us.
No, that's
That's right.
definitely true.
Chance behind his back.
So you have something around your neck on a lanyard that you said identified you as a member of the press.
I went ahead and made me a little badge that had my name, had the name of my news channel on it. The chief of police said that that's not a press pass. I made it myself, which really didn't matter.
Well, you did
It's
admit, you said to them, I made it myself. And you said that's
Yes,
okay because I am a member of the press.
right. Independent press, yes.
Let's talk about
Mhm.
your work as a member of the press. Tell us
Right.
about your outlet, your media outlet, and what you do. What's the objective? What do you do
Mhm.
as a member of the press?
Well, I try to get leads and do stories. I had a story here in Saltville where $20,000 worth of metal was taken from the town and pawned at a scrapyard. And I did the story. 3 months later, they indicted one of the town workers, but it took 3 months for them to find out, which I reported it on my news channel.
So you're
And
looking for corruption in government, you're investigating things, and then where does it get presented to the public?
you just type in Hilltop News. I've got close to 2,000 subscribers right now, and it's growing. I've learned that a lot of people cannot make it to town hall meetings. So I start recording town hall meetings and publish it to the people.
So do you record the entire meeting and put it on your site?
Yes, I do not stop the recordings for any reason or edit them or anything. Just a full meeting. There you go.
And do you stream it live or do you record it and then post it?
If I would have had time, I would have streamed my arrest live. At the time of my arrest, they did not know I had my equipment recording.
Okay, so you've got cell phones and special microphones and you record and then post, or sometimes you stream live, it sounds like.
Right, right.
Is being a reporter or being a member of the press your full-time job, David?
It is, yes, I'd say it is. Yes.
So is that your sole source of income, is being a reporter?
Right,
How
right.
do you get money from that?
Well, a lot of times people donate and other things like that. So
So,
plus I'm on a disability. I had four fingers cut off and they wouldn't let me go back to work from PTSD. I'm not looking for like my channel. I don't want money for it really. And I never ask people for money. I named my channel Why Are Small Towns Becoming a Thing of the Past? I've been trying to root out corruption and misspending and things like that.
well, let's go back to your arrest and let's get some of the facts about your arrest. July the 9th, at the meeting, you were arrested. You were told that you were exhibiting disorderly conduct because you wouldn't move to where they asked you to move. And people can see this video. It's posted on Hilltop News on YouTube with David Huff.
Yeah.
You were polite, but you were not acquiescing to his request. And you can see the recording up until they handcuff you and take you out. So I assume you went to jail that night.
They ended up holding me in the back for about an hour, and then they just told me I could leave.
So you didn't have to post bail. You didn't have to spend a night in jail. But
No.
then they did press charges and you had to go
Yes.
to court. And the charges
With the
were disorderly conduct after they arrested you and then they released you, but you had an arraignment. And that
yes.
was when you just pled not guilty. Did anything else happen in the arraignment?
No, not really. It was just that's what it was. So they wanted to postpone it again, but with them not showing up, the judge dropped the case, and
No, wait,
that's
he didn't drop the case because there was another hearing. And you have a right to an attorney and you requested a court-appointed attorney at that hearing, correct?
that was at the arraignment.
Oh, that was at the arraignment. So on
Right.
this September the 4th hearing, you'd been arraigned. Did you have an attorney with you at that hearing?
At the second meeting, I had an attorney.
Okay, on September the 4th, and they basically continued the case. They delayed it, right?
Well, they Bucky Blevins, the district attorney, wanted to postpone it, and the judge wouldn't allow it. They have a name for it, but it's pretty much like dropping the case.
Yeah, but that was on September the 4th. They delayed the case because the final verdict wasn't until October the 15th.
Okay, yes, the police never showed up on either case, on
Okay, but
either.
on October the 15th, your attorney is there with you,
Right.
and he has made some deal before the hearing, correct?
No, he didn't make any kind of deal. Because he didn't have to, because I was arrested by Chief Puckett and Assistant Chief McVeigh, and neither one of them showed up at court to prosecute me. So I had no chance to address the charges.
So the
And
judge basically, it's a technicality. The judge didn't dismiss your case, but it's called, we'll get this straightened out at some point, but it was called a null pros or something like that. The
Yes, ma'am.
the what happens with that is it's basically what happens in a meeting when you table something. It just kind of
Right,
disappears into the background.
right, right,
So they basically say, we're not doing anything else with you right now.
right.
And so you walk away and you continue your work.
I would, even if I was in jail when I got out, I would still continue. It was it was Benjamin Franklin that said that if we do not exercise our rights, we are bound to lose them.
David, you are clear about your rights. David Huff, my guest today. He is the editor, reporter, the staff of Hilltop News on YouTube. You can find his website. You can see where he was arrested, and he just kept saying, I am a member of the press. I don't have to have any kind of special identification. Everybody's a member of the press. Everybody has a right to be here and cover this meeting. And because you wouldn't stand where they wanted you to stand, because you wanted to be at the table that said press, you wanted to make the point that you were press. So, where did you get this education, this training, this knowledge about your rights?
A lot of it was passed down from my father, who was a Green Beret. He gave his rights from our forefathers gave us our rights. My father died protecting our rights, and he's always told me and explained to me a true American will die on his feet before he lives on his knees, and to always exercise those rights that you were born with and our forefathers died for. So I learned as many as I could. And I knew at the time I was not going to allow somebody to violate the First Amendment of the Constitution.
So you're saying that free speech and free press is paramount,
Freedom,
is
freedom
of,
of religion. I mean, it covers all the bases, and it's the foundation
and you're
of
committed to
their
that. And
100%.
100%. But as far as any formal training, how have you learned what you know about being a reporter?
I read a lot on before I even started. I would read a lot on their Constitution and the Bill of Rights. In my opinion, I would like to get this off my chest. I truly believe when our kids are in 11th grade, there should be a class that only teaches the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. But they do not teach that in school, and it's very important.
I would happen to agree with you. I think that there's a lot of confusion about these kinds of situations. And when you said, I am a member of the press because everybody's a member of the press, there's a great deal of truth to that. You said something about nobody gives press passes or certifies people as being reporters, but in fact, attendance is limited at lots of places. You can't have everybody from the public
Right,
saying, I'm coming in to sit in the floor of Congress to report
right.
on this.
Like
So,
the White House and other things.
yeah,
There's exceptions. Now, if it's a private function, you do not have the right just to go and say I'm press and walk in on that.
that's
It's
so
open to the
interesting
press.
that you say that, David. I want to ask you, can you just kind of tell us what some of your professional standards are? You do not have to have a license to be a journalist, but
No,
what are your standards that you try to go by?
try so very hard not to film or involve the public, the citizens. But if you're a public official and you take that job, your job is to answer the questions that are presented to you. Every person that's listening to this might be off subject, but the police in Saltville and Smith County and surrounding county, they do not have body cameras or dash cams. People need to realize they have every right to record any traffic stop. That way, you have the evidence and you have a right to film your public officials.
Well, that's very interesting. And I want to press you one more time on your professional standards because you go after them, David Huff. You go after these public officials.
Yes.
Why?
A big part was I had a niece and she was pulled over, and the police officer pulled her over for no reason. He wanted her name. She's a very pretty girl. And then he looked her up on Facebook and harassed her. In one of my videos, another officer in Saltville, I caught him doing it. He pulled a woman over because she backed up at an ATM. And he went up, got her driver's license, handed it back to her, and left. So I caught up with him and asked him, what law did she break? He said she backed up. I said, well, what law says you cannot back up? He had no answer. But that's all he wanted was that woman to give him her name, and he know what she looks like. So now he can freely go on Facebook or anywhere else and find her. I had the video. My first video is where I caught a police officer hiding in the woods having sex with a woman in the police car. And he tried to turn it on me and told me I was trespassing, which I was not. Well, that police officer, 2 months later, was named Officer of the Year. Nothing was done.
Well, David, it sounds like you're trying to be the police. If your niece was pulled over and was harassed, why did she not file a complaint?
She was only 16.
She still could have said she could have.
Yeah, she could have.
And what about the police officer having sex in the woods? Was he on duty, or did the woman, did the woman object or press charges? Was it consensual?
The woman ended up hitting me and stealing my phone.
She wasn't being grateful for your help.
No, I went up to video the woods and I just happened to look over and see a police car and another car hiding back in the woods.
Okay, so David, I'm going to reverse the
Okay,
roles here
all right.
because, like I said, you go after these people. And I'm going to ask you one more time,
Okay.
what are your professional standards?
I just want to hold them accountable. If they do nothing wrong, they should not have anything to worry about. I
Okay.
ask them questions nicely. I never raise my voice. I never curse. I just try to bring the wrong to light.
Okay, David, you're sounding like a saint, David Huff, member
I'm
of the
trying.
press. But let me tell you, your website, and I will post a link in when this becomes a podcast after it airs, I'll put a link so that people can find it. But
Right.
and don't you take anything down. There's a video there where I think you break the law. There
Which one?
was which one?
Yeah.
David.
I've got
Okay.
56 videos, so I'm not sure which
All
one.
right. Well, the one that I saw was it was a mayor. I'm not even going to say which town, but
Sure.
who owned a garage, and you
Hmm.
take your little camera and you go walking right onto his private property,
Of course.
recording,
Yes.
and you said you don't curse and you're not, but you're sarcastic. You're like, "Are
Hmm.
you doing this? What are you doing there?"
Hmm.
How do you defend that kind of, but if you're a professional journalist, why don't you call up and say, I want to talk to you about some things that I think are questionable about your behavior?
You can see how he would not answer any questions. It don't matter what. And the video was due to a lot of things they caught him doing. I did not violate any law because I went onto his property and I was videoing and I was asking him questions and his coworker. But once he said you need to leave, I left, which is that's what you have to do. Say if it's private property and the owner or somebody says that you have to leave, you got to leave. It's
Right.
not public.
But you
So
knew you were trespassing by walking
no, I
onto
wasn't.
no. You were walked onto private property and you were
Right.
shooting video and you
Mhm.
waited for them to tell you to leave, but you've got to know that you don't have a right to do that.
Yes, yeah, I do. I have a right to do that. There was no signs that said no trespassing or anything like that.
But if
And
he had wanted to, and here's the other thing, David, they're after you, aren't they? I mean,
oh
all
yeah,
these public officials, they know you, they see you coming.
right, right. It would not be. It's not trust. If it's private property and they say you need to leave, you got to leave. Period. There's no question about it. If you refuse to leave, that's trespassing. And or if they have a sign up there that says no trespassing or this or that, you cannot go there. That's your warning. And once he told me I need to leave, there was no way in the world I was going to stay there because it was his property and he told me to leave, so I left. So there was no crime at all on my part. but I wanted answers to the all of the town's business with their trucks, their vehicles, and everything was going to his garage, and he's the mayor.
So you thought it was a conflict of interest, but instead of going to a city council meeting and saying, I would like to bring up an issue, you go in with your camera rolling.
Right,
These government officials in Smith County,
Smith County.
they see you coming and they get their hackles up when they see you coming.
Well, I've noticed that when I drive around and I pull up, if there's a police officer there, he leaves.
Well, the thing that I wanted to say to you is this is why I think it's really important to talk to you. And I really
Mhm.
appreciate how honest you're being about you're like a gadfly. You're like you want to get on their nerves, you want to get under their skin, you want to find out what they're doing wrong, and you go after them. It's very irritating to them. And a lot of people might not really appreciate it. But I think the point that we have to make is that our freedoms of press and speech have been advanced in the courts by people who challenge.
If you go back and you look in history, newspapers, and then radio, then TV, now social media, people need to realize press is going to change over time, but it should not change the foundation of free press and holding your officials accountable.
And even though you are, by your own definition and by your own standards, a journalist, you are defending these rights. And I think everybody needs to recognize that a person who defends our right and advances our freedom does not have to be cast by Disney. You don't have to be sweet and delightful and totally professional. And if we believe in free speech, we
Right.
have to believe in it for thee as well as for me.
Well, even with free speech, there is a limit. If you threaten somebody, that's not free speech.
That's a threat, which is a crime.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
But otherwise, you have the right to free speech as long as it's not a threat or anything like that.
Or
If
libel
we're,
or obscene or an invasion of privacy. There are a million
well, I
regulations.
mean, you can go anywhere you want to and say the F word. It don't matter.
Yes, you can't outlaw a
And
word.
right. But as long when it comes to threats, I mean, that's not free speech. That's hate. I've seen a lot of other people doing news channels, kind of like mine. And in my opinion, they're very rude when they go in and talk to an official. Right that second, they're as rude as they could be. And as far as me, I don't think it should be done that way. Everybody deserves a chance to go right off the bat and go after them. You don't even know them. That's all I do. Is if something I did FOIA requests, I do a lot of FOIA requests. Find out where our money's going. If we do not hold them accountable, then who will? I mean, I don't mean to hurt anybody. I get a lot of people come replying to my videos and stuff. And, I think they might be related to the person that the video is about or something like that. That's fine. I do not delete any comment, good or bad. The only time I would delete a comment is if it's offensive to children. I will not leave that on my channel.
All right, David Huff,
So,
you wanted to join these ornery government officials. Didn't you run for town
yes,
council?
yes, I did. For years, our town council never changed. And I begged people, please run. Nobody would run. So I put my name in. Once I did, like 7 other people joined, and I went and told each one of them, y'all are young. You finally applied to be on the council. My generation, I feel, has failed, and I hope you win. And if you do, I will back you 100% as long as you're honest and you help the town. And so far, it's all worked out good. We've got almost all new council members, new mayor, new town manager, the police chief of police is gone, and we have a fresh start.
But
The
what
only,
happened to your candidacy?
well, it didn't go too good. I think a lot of people. Well, one reason is they had my name on the bottom of the list. Yes.
But you were
People, I
on the
guess,
ballot.
yeah, they had me down on the bottom where most people check the tops or whatever when they're doing council. But that's okay. My point was there needs to be a change. So that's the only reason I ran. Once I seen everybody running, I was smiling. And to me, it didn't matter who won as long as they were new.
All right. David Huff, failed candidate for the town of council to be a government official. So he's returned to his role of just giving them a hard time and trying to hold their feet to the fire for all kinds of things.
We'll
With,
try. We'll try it as I run for governor next time.
oh, you're going to run for governor next time?
We'll see how that works.
And then when you have all these reporters in your face, trying to dig up dirt on you, it's going to be poetic justice, right?
Well, I'll hide under the podium and just have a puppet or something up there, you
David Huff, member of the press, and don't you dare suggest that he's not.
know.
And that doesn't mean that he might not be a little rude sometimes. He might press the limits of the law. We've laughed a little, but there are very serious issues here. And if we believe in free speech, we have to believe in it for people, even people who are sometimes a little annoying and can get on people's nerves. But we do have to protect.
But I do
that right.
think the main thing that around here and America needs, they need to teach this in school. It's very important. Like I had to teach my son how to write a check because they don't teach that. But they should teach our children their rights as Americans. That should be taught in high school.
It would certainly be nice if everybody knew their rights and wanted to protect them. David Huff, my guest today. You can call him anything, but just don't tell him he's not a member of the press.
Let's see.
Thanks again, David.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this conversation. Let me remind you that this was the first in a 4-part series. You've just heard my conversation with David Huff, who was arrested for disorderly conduct for insisting that he needed to sit at the press table and was told no. His media is Hilltop News on YouTube. The second part will be a conversation with David Huff's lawyer and the principles behind defending him in his case. The third interview will be with a student reporter who experienced violence as a result of her reporting. We'll end this series in a conversation with someone who is an expert on the broad issues of free speech and free press. Again, thanks for joining me on this conversation. Please stay tuned for this series. And remember to look for this show Wednesday at 6, Sunday at 2, and on the archives at WEHC This Conversation.